Welcome back to Your 1230, the only podcast where our guests tell their story with the help of 12 questions in just 30 minutes. Today, we are very excited to be joined by Odhran McCorry. Odhran is an executive health coach to top tier executives who want to improve productivity, energy, and longevity through their health and fitness. He's a dad of two running a worldwide coaching business. He understands the executive struggle of balancing your body, brain, business, and family, which is why he created the Elite Executive Mentorship. Odhran, welcome. We are really excited to talk to you.
Yeah, I can't wait. This is gonna be fun.
I think it is going to be. And, that's a very impressive bio. And one of the things that jumps out when we first talked and kind of going through it, you work with executives or people who have very demanding jobs. So what are some of the things that they are looking for you to help them with, or some areas that they may have overlooked because their job is so demanding?
Sure. So with executives, right? Like picture your typical executive. They are absolute workhorses. That's how they get to where they are in life, whether they're lower level executives or they're at the top of the C suite, right? Like they're gonna have put a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get to where they want to go. But normally there's a sacrifice there, whether that's family, whether that's fitness, whether that's everything. It's very easy to neglect some areas while you're building this, right? And then what happens with a lot of people is they get to retirement age and realize they're not as healthy as they want to be. Like either their mobility's off, their health overall in terms of their blood pressure, their cholesterol markers, just overall how they look, feel, and perform is normally off. And for most people, they're either catching this early, where they're sort of mid 40s, mid 50s, and they're like, all right, let's put the measures in place so I can still perform until I retire and get my succession plan in order. Or they're at that retirement age and they're saying, I need to get my health together because I didn't come here to work for 60 till 65 only to die at 72, which is actually the worldwide life expectancy, right? I think in America it's around 78, somewhere around 77, 78. And that means essentially you work from maybe you're 20 so to 65, 45 years, and you get 7 to 12 years to actually enjoy what you've built. Like that's off. So most guys will come to me and they will be identifying that this is an area they need to focus on. And actually I like to see it as fitness is kind of the gateway drug to achieving all they want to do, because the dedication, the resilience, the effort you put in the gym will carry across to anything you want to do, whether it's stress management because your family time's stressful, whether that's business, like even just how you show up in terms of your energy and how you lead your team. Like it's all coming from fitness. So that's what I want to be the facilitator of, using fitness as that gateway drug to achieve everything you want to achieve in life.
That's a great answer, because you paint a picture of all the things that you can do with your clients and the many, many benefits that come from putting a focus on our health and our fitness. It is depressing when you say that, we work for 65 years only to have a handful afterward of being unhealthy and
Sure.
older. So yes, this is something we should put a focus on. You also mentioned measures and performance. So I know that's something that can be kind of subjective or very dependent on the person you're working with. So how do you work with your clients to kind of figure out what their program should look like?
Yeah, so obviously it's an individual basis, right? Like the guy I just spoke to on a call, if he comes on as a client, his plan is going to be different to what I write for you, right? Same way, if you look through the folders, there might be similarities in terms of all these people will be desk bound, they might be around the same age, they might have the same time crunch. So they might look similar in terms of the time spent in the gym or the way the programs are structured. But the individualities of everything that they do is different. So, like, we need to first of all see where they're at, right? We need to meet the client where they're at, give them a little bit of what they want, so the program's a bit fun. You don't want to have them where they don't like doing their training or they can't stick on the diet long term, because then they're just going to fall off the wagon. But then we've also got to meet them where they're at in terms of the actual markers, the objective. It's telling us you sleep this amount of hours, your stress is at this level, which we can all track now through like the Aura Ring, which I've got on now. I've got a Garmin watch here as well. The Apple Watch will track it. There's the Whoop bands. There's loads you can do to track this, and they track your activities, your recovery, your stress levels overall, your sleep. And that's the type of data that then I grab every week alongside, things like blood pressure, because blood pressure is the silent killer, right? It's something that we probably don't think about, but it's something that we probably should. So even just doing that once a week or once a fortnight is something that's very good for a lot of executives. And we take all that data. And the thing with these executives is they're very data driven. They'll live based on spreadsheets, right? They'll see the numbers, people report back to them in reports and spreadsheets, but they don't know the data for how much they're going to sleep, what their stress levels are like. Of that sleep, they think, oh yeah, my sleep's great. I sleep for 7, 8 hours a night. Yeah. I used to be in bed for 7, 8 hours a night, but I would sleep for about 5.5 of those because my sleep was that bad when I was pushing the business hard. Now it's where I'm in bed for, maybe 7, 8 hours, and I'll sleep for 6.5 of that. Right. So it's more quality sleep. My REM sleep to restore the mind and make quality decisions is where it wants to be. The deep sleep to recover the body is where it wants to be. But if I don't wear this ring and don't track that and don't actually open the app in the morning to look at my score from last night, what am I like? Like, what's the point? So there's no point being so data driven in other areas of your life and not being data driven on your health.
I love that point, because when you get people in the C-suite or have those executive type roles, you're absolutely right that they are data driven, that they're going to make their decisions based on what the numbers are telling them. But when you flip it and ask them about their statistics, their figures, they either don't know it or they do not put as much into it. So I think that would be quite a persuasive way to tell them, say, this is important because you do this every day in your job and you know that it works there. It's going to work for you too. I love that point. The other thing that you said that I thought was a really awesome point. Gateway drugs are a scary term in some areas, but think about the many kind of down the road benefits that health can have. And I don't mean later, just later in your day, later in your week, and just have better feeling, higher energy. Fitness does that for pretty much anybody who's doing it right or doing it consistently. Do you see a lot of the executives you work with have some level of fitness and they're looking to kind of level up, or are you taking some of your clients from zero to that first step?
I guess again, the unsexy answer is it depends. It could be an executive who's hitting 60, who's thinking about the retirement plan, who maybe felt really good about 10 to 15 years ago and wants to get back to that, but currently is neglecting areas of their life, whether that's through injury, through a busy schedule, through just other things taking priority, even if it's something like family, if there's something like illness or the kids are growing up and, you want to spend more time with them and you're not putting the time into yourself. Like, it could go from anything. I've got guys who they just need a couple of percent better, like somebody who's already training, who's already following a diet, tracks their sleep and stress, but maybe just doesn't manage them as well. And for them, it's like if they're currently operating at 80, 85%, if we can get them a couple of percentage points better, that's great. Even somebody who might come in on a short-term blast, like a 3 month thing to really fix these, they could be operating at 85, 90%. And it's just a case of, right, can we get them even a couple of percent better, But for most people, it's going to be like a 6 month to 12 month journey because we want it to actually stick. And it's meeting them where they're at. Like I said, if they have been neglecting themselves, it's just getting the habits in place, getting the rules set for their life, and also managing their time so they can fit everything in. Whether it is CrossFits, triathlons, is it just doing more weights? Is it just walking more? Is it just looking after your food a bit more and getting more protein and veggies in rather than just going for the convenience food? Or is it just finding that magic time in their schedule to do it all and actually fit it all in and just have that voice of accountability, support, and actually reason of, they're thinking about doing something extreme. It's like, hang on, this doesn't fit into what you told me was your goals and your big why. So don't push the boat too much because then you might suffer at work. And we want to have that balance right. Most executives will struggle with that balance between body, brain, and business where, or to put it in other words, their personal goals, their professional goals, and that quality family time that they'll want to spend, or potentially quality time on the golf course away from the family, depending on how much they love the golf, right? So it's finding that structure so they can tick off all these boxes, because whenever they actually do it and they buy into it, they're doing something for themselves, and it means they get that extra jolt of actually, instead of just saying you're going to do it, actually frigging following through and saying, you know what, I've done that for myself. Now I can do this. I just need to make this more of a consistent thing now moving forward.
So there's a lot of moving pieces in that where you hit on that. It's not only fitness, it's health overall. It's the wellness with your stress, your sleep, your diet, but then it's the accountability piece at work with your family. So the last few years, we've seen a lot of change in a lot of areas. One of them is, I would say, the proliferation of outsourcing to experts like yourself. That, yeah, I might be really skilled in this, but I need some help here. I need accountability here. So these executives you work with probably have multiple coaches. How, if you do, collaborate with other coaches, or when you kind of drift into those other areas, business, family, many areas of health, how are you kind of, one, staying an expert in all of those areas, and two, when they are working with multiple coaches, how have you seen that collaboration, if that has happened?
So I very much like to stay in my lane where I will work on them on their goals and how the health piece leads to better energy, which can lead to the business. If somebody wanted coaching on how to be the best at their job, the actual job specifics, that's not what I do. I don't get involved in that. If there's some sort of link where I need to talk to their business mentor because business is suffering because of the health or vice versa, like, hey, this guy could do like big numbers this year if we just get him healthy, right? We can talk about that and collab. But the big thing that I found, we do everything in house ourselves. So we do the nutrition, we do the training, we do everything. That means that there's one voice coming to them on all these things. Like, and a lot of people, like, you reach out on LinkedIn, you try to find out a bit about people based on these guys fit. I think this guy would be a cool person to work with. That's how me and you connected, right? We connected on LinkedIn. And you connect on a call, and some people are like, you know what, I've got a nutritionist, I got a trainer, I've got a mindset coach. And it's like, okay, cool, that's great, but how often do all three of those actually speak? And the answer 9 times out of 10 is, oh, well, good point, they actually don't. So the key thing is, one, that we stay in our lane in terms of we're not trying to be their business mentor or whatever, but we can collaborate because the two should work in tandem, right? But what a lot of the executives get wrong is, yes, they tick boxes of, I've got a nutrition coach and I've got a fitness coach, but okay, cool. How often does the fitness coach talk to your nutritionist about what's happening with the training and vice versa? Or is it just that the executive is having to relay all the information I would give out as a trainer, and then he's taking it to the nutritionist? Is it actually getting across to the nutritionist so it can match up? Because there's always going to be like blurred lines there, and most people, like, they don't talk to each other, right? Even if a trainer, like saying somebody to physio or chiro, they'll not talk to the physio or chiro directly. They'll not say, hey, can I get their email so I can get this report sent back to me so I can look over it before your next session? Like, they don't do that. They just rely on, hey, how did the chiro go? Yeah, it went pretty well. Okay, what's the issue? Honestly, I just need to do some more stretching. And well, great. Okay, yeah, but what was the issue? What stretching does the physio say you need to do? Like, how can I make you more accountable to do that? And I think as an industry, it's okay having all these different people, but I think eventually people are going to realize that it's better to have everything all in house and have somebody that actually connects with the professionals. So very, very roundabout way to answer your question, Mike. I apologize. I've probably taken half the podcast time just explaining that, but I think it's an important piece. So I think it's just making sure that it is a holistic approach, and that if you do have mentors in other areas, that it does work together, and that if there is something specific, you then collaborate on it, whether it is a physio or chiro, whether it is a business coach, a mindset coach, a psychologist potentially. That all needs to be collaborated, but it can't just come from relying on the client to come and tell us, hey, this is what my psych said, this is what my nutrition coach said, this is what my physio said,
No apology necessary. That was a solid answer, because you laid out the foundation for what will work, staying true to what staying in your lane and providing excellent service, but also being aware that there are other areas to collaborate with, to understand that will affect what you're working on. So that's a very good answer. No need to apologize. Um, with a follow up there, part of the bio mentions worldwide coaching, and as we talk, I'm in the US, you're in Australia. So I would think a lot of what you do is via platforms like this, where you are
Yep.
in two different places. How does that impact what you're doing when you're talking about being in the gym, CrossFit, lifting weights? How have you been able to kind of give your clients the personal feel when you can be thousands of miles away?
Yeah, sure. So the thing is, like, with executives, they're going to be busy people anyway, right? Like, they don't want to have calls every single day. They even don't want it, to be honest, to be at a set place for a set time. Because here's the thing, people will have these PTs and they'll be charging, say, a personal trainer might charge, say, $100 for their session or whatever, right? If Mike gets caught up in a busy day and Oren decides to talk for 1 hour instead of 30 minutes on his podcast and he misses his appointment, he's just wasted $100. Plus, he also has to drive to be there. He's going to be there for a specific time, and that's going to impact the rest of his day. So online works really well for these guys. And this is something I've been doing since 2014. Basically, I move country every 3 years. So I moved from Liverpool. I'm Irish. So I moved to Liverpool for 3 years to do my sports science degree. Moved back home, set up a really good business, then decided, big fish, small pond, let's move to Glasgow in Scotland. Had to set up over there, and then now I moved to Perth, Australia. So I kind of had to move a lot. So online's been a key component for nearly 10 years for me, where people from back home, from that business, like I said, big fish, small pond, they were like, I don't want to go to anyone else. Like, I recommended who they went to see for PT, but they're like, how can I work with you still? And I was like, well, let's work this out. Let's see if we can do a Skype call every week. And when Skype was just getting big, and email contact. And then it's developed into this monster now where I'm fully online pretty much. I've got 2 coaches based in the UK, and we work with clients in all time zones, like the furthest east you can come here, to the furthest west you can go on the west coast of America, probably on the map. Like, we work with clients in all time zones based on the fact that we deliver the program, they execute, we expect them to just execute. They're good at that. If they need anything, they reach out and they do their weekly check-ins with the available tech, online forms, pictures in the Google Drive. They give me measurements, they give me feedback, they give me all their data, obviously, via a spreadsheet. And then we can connect. Like, I phoned one of my guys, he had Zoom, so I phoned him on my drive into the office. I was like, I'll phone you on my drive, 5:30 a.m. I'll phone you. That'll be 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. I'll phone you then, sorted, right? So we had a half an hour chat because he doesn't want to jump on Zoom. He's too busy. He's in the car a lot. He wants to just have a chat then. Great. Like, we tailor it to the individual, so they don't have to be anywhere at a specific time. They can book times and they can book what way they like to communicate around themselves. But basically, they get everything they need delivered in a handy little package that they can just go and execute. They can give me the feedback, and they can get the feedback from us then based on what the data is saying, based on what they're telling us, and based on what we think they need moving forward,
That's such a good point, because I didn't think of it in those terms, that when you're working with, again, this group of executives, that they don't want to be in a certain place at a certain time because their day might dictate something completely different. So if you can provide them exceptional results and give them the flexibility of, this needs to get done, but you can do it either here, there, or when you have time, that's a real advantage. That's knowing your audience and delivering them what they want. So that's very, 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 very well done, and that's a good answer. Go on, illustrate it. Kind of in that vein, and even I'm going to group myself in here, because this is an answer I kind of gave you. Is that, I think I'm doing this pretty well, so I don't know if this would be a great fit for me. But I think this health fitness falls into the bucket of, we don't know what we don't know, or you don't know there's 3, 10, 20 other gears that we could hit. How often is that the case where you find that you're working with somebody's like, no, I'm in a pretty good spot, or I'm in good shape, and they start working with you? It's like, holy shit, I had no idea I had so much to gain, or I had so many different areas that to improve in. Is that often, is there a story that comes to mind when I bring that up? Is now I'm rambling, but that's kind of what I thought of as you're going through that answer.
Sure. Like, I think, like, to answer in a roundabout way, like, as human beings, we're built for growth, right? So yeah, you might be fine now, Mike, right? And I'm not going to try to pitch you on the podcast about how I can help you, but I know I definitely can, because we're designed for growth, right? Like, for me, like, I just signed up for a new business coach 2 days ago, even though I've currently got one. It's doing the business for me, but I'm like, is there more out there, right? There's always another level. And like, that's why I kind of hate when people say, I'm all set for this right now. I'm like, okay, like, what do you mean you're all set? You mean you're working with somebody to nail all these things, or it's not a priority right now, or like what does that mean? Because, for example, if somebody is commission based in what they do, right, like, real estate advisors or sales professionals or whatever that is, if you show up with more energy, you show up with a better mood. If you're fitter and more confident, like, I've never met somebody, Mike, who hasn't lost 10 pounds and look more jacked and swole, who doesn't have more confidence in every interaction they go to, even if it's a female. Somebody loses 5 pounds, they're going to feel sexy, they're going to feel more beautiful, they're going to walk in a room more confident. That transfers across the rest of your life. So yeah, you might be good at training, you're doing a bit of training, and you try to follow keto diet, or I do fasting, or I follow the 5-2 method, whatever, Cambridge diet, whatever you want to throw out there, like they might be okay, but can we increase things? And even, for example, if somebody was able to increase their yearly revenue because we tweak a few things and take them from maybe 60, 70, 80% to that 5-10% more, like what's the potential there for somebody who is potentially commission based or like a referral business based, just from you showing up better to do what you do, right? Like, so while you might have aspects dialed in, like there's always another level, and as human beings we are wired to try to find that other level. Like that's what we thrive. That's why the people with depression and things like that, yes, it's a very real thing, but a lot of the times people who are depressed, they don't have that drive. There's no growth happening, so they stagnate, and that's why they then say, well, I'm not really going anywhere in life, and they might feel depressed, right? Like all these things. So yes, anyone listening, you might feel like there's training diet's good, but there's also your sleep, there's also your stress, also your time management. We can get you more productive with more energy, better REM sleep, so you're making better quality decisions and better focus, and you're less stressed because you're sleeping less, you're actually getting that dopamine hit from training, and you're following a good diet, so you've got good energy. What could your potential output at work be? Whether it is that you're running the company and you want to run it better and you want to have more energy to do everything you do, or is it that you want to climb the ladder and you want to go for that promotion? And if we can get you getting more work done in the same amount of time, and you can climb that career ladder, earn an extra 20, 30, 40, or 100 grand, depending on what position you're jumping to, like what's to say, like there isn't another level there, that you're all set. Like we're never all set. Even David Goggins, or however you do, Mr. Olympia, like Usain Bolt, he's never all set. He's always pushing for better, right? Like it's the same. We're the exact same. And you just got to think about where is the next level and how can I get there? And is it just a little tweak, or do we need to tweak something massively, Mike?
That's why I love talking to you, because every time I'm ready to run through a wall, just your excitement and your energy just kind of jumps through. And it's like, yes, I love this guy. But you mentioned, having a full calendar, having many priorities, having lots of things competing with each other. What is and you've got, young ones at home, you're taking calls at 5:30 in the morning, working all day, we're audio only, so our listeners can't see what great shape you're in, but how do you stay focused on your priorities, and how do you balance your calendar to kind of hit everything you want to each day to make sure those top priorities are met?
So I think you've got to look at your day in the full block. For example, like I don't mind getting up at 5 and being in the car at 5:20 in the office ready for a call at 6, depending on where the time zone is. I don't mind also taking a call at 7 p.m. at night if it means that it's either driving the business forward or it's helping my current clients, right? But you've got to have hard set rules. Like my last call now is 7 o'clock, so I can chill with the missus for an hour. I can have some food. I can wind down, get ready for bed, away from that stimulating business environment. But also, like today, I've got a busy day. I've had calls. I've had this podcast. I've got client check-ins to do today as well. But I pick my girls up from school around 3, so work's going to be done at 3. And from 3 o'clock to maybe 7 o'clock at night, that's the family time. That's where, like, you can't book a call with me at 3:30 because I'm in the car going to pick up the girls. And when I get home, I don't have the time or even want to be doing that. So I kind of reverse engineer my day, but I'm like, right, okay, if I'm doing that and that's family time guaranteed between 3 and 7 each night, that's 4 hours. Well, I still use my phone a bit, right? But at least a couple of hours, it's quality family time where I'll dip in and out of my phone depending on what needs done, but it's based on that, right? That gives me the rest of the day. I've got to fit in my training. I've got to fit in all my client work. I've got to fit in things like this promotional stuff, and also, sales calls and stuff that executives will understand, right? To grow the business, to do what you need to do in your role. But you need to block out and reverse engineer, right? When can I work? When am I expected to work? When do I finish? And then where am I going to fit around that? Like most people will be, say, a 9 to 5 life, maybe who's listening to this, right? That means if you wake up at 6 a.m., you've got 3 hours to do everything you need to do with the family. You need to potentially train, get the kids to school. And then also you've got to navigate how productive you are. For somebody else, that might be the magic time where they can get up a little bit earlier. Even if they get up at 6 normally, they can get up at 5 and their kids wake up, say, 6:30. That's an hour and a half. They could tackle the biggest chunk of their day before they even get to the office. They can do the key tasks when they're uninterrupted. And then they get to the office, they've already done an hour and a half of work. They're ahead of everyone else. What's the potential? And if they're maybe flexi time or performance based, they can potentially clock off a little bit earlier. Then if they're evening trainers, they can then, you know, they can pick the kids up from school, or they can go to the gym, they can go to the golf course, whatever it is, and they can manage their time a bit better. And obviously, if they're executives, they're kind of in control of their own calendar as long as it's blocked in, right? So how can you think of your day? If you wake up a little bit earlier, is that either your training time based on you like to go home? Like I will always train mid-morning just the way my calendar is. But then also, if that was my productive time and I could only do that, could I get an hour and a half or 2 hours rather than go to the gym and then train in the afternoon or evening, right? So you've got to see that where are the time leaks in your day? How can you just organize in your day a little bit better, meaning you actually have time to train, you have time to eat, you have time to see your family, you have time to actually nail the productivity piece. And once you start to plan out your day like that in little 30-minute blocks where you know everything you're doing, I know right after this, right, 9:45, and probably about 15 minutes, I'll be doing check-ins for 30 minutes. Then I'm going to get my haircut. Then I'm going to go do more check-ins. And then I've got stuff to do for the business before I pick the girls up later. And then it's like, it's Friday here, obviously, when we're recording this. I maybe got one call later tonight at 5 p.m. Where my wife will do the dinner time. And I'm literally just, it was a really like one-off important call. I could only fit that in there. So it's like, right, cool. Navigating that round if something does come up where you can then plug these things in. But if you're not in control of your schedule, you're not going to get anything done because you're going to say, I'm too busy to train, can't eat well, I can't get my steps in because, you know, it's winter here in Boston and it's fucking cold out and I don't want to do this. And, you know, you're just going to make excuses. Where if you put it in your calendar where you go for a walk in the morning, walk in the evening, you do your training here, this is your lunch break, this is when you see family, this is when you are your most productive. And then also you line everything up so that you've got energy and you're sleeping well and your stress is managed. You know, it's just going to be, that's the key, mate. And even for stress, mate, if you can take control of your whole day like that, you're not going to be stressed because you know what you're going to need to do when. You're going to get everything done. You're going to make sure you're not putting too much on your calendar to overwhelm you. And then you're going to tick that box. You're going to get it done and everything's sorted, right? Like that's going to be a key thing because a lot of executives will struggle with stress simply because they put too much on their calendar and they can't achieve it all. Like, shit, I didn't do that one thing, or I left my trail out because there was too much in and I worked too late. Like, just put in the calendar as non-negotiable times and manage that, and you'll see your stress, you'll see your energy, you'll see your health go to the next level, Mike.
That's a really good answer because you're absolutely right that if you don't have control over your calendar in general, there's no way you're going to have control of the things that are on it or the things you need to get done because you're going to be out of control trying to make up time all day and you're going to feel like you have time for nothing. Somehow, speaking of time, we are nearing our 30 minutes. I could easily fire questions at you all day, but as you say, we don't have time for that. I do have 3 quick ones that I do want to get to.
Sure.
So, Odhran, you know, you would be a great fit for most people that are looking to look for a health or fitness coach. So you're obviously the first stop. What's something that a potential client or you're looking for a potential client to know if this is the right match for me, that this is, so if someone's looking to work with you or looking for a coach in general, what should they make sure they have?
So I think it's a hard one. Like I'm very selective who I work with. Like I only work with maybe 15 people at a time in the executive space because I want to deliver the quality service. So I look at their profile. Like the reason I reached out to you, I looked at your profile. I was like, okay, something's interesting about this guy. You know, he's clearly successful. He's driven. He's doing all the right things. How can I help him? And that's what I led with. Let's have a call just to see how I can provide some value. On that call, I'm kind of looking at how's your stress, how's your sleep, how's your training, how's your nutrition. Is it potentially a good fit? Where do you want, for example, you want the company to go? Like if this is a big growth here in your business and it's make or break, how can I then support you through your stress, your sleep, your health overall? So you have the energy if it's a make or break year that you don't essentially go bust, but also like if you're an executive who's navigating maybe a succession plan because you're going out or you're trying to move left or right, how can I support you in that? I've got people who they come to me and they're like, I actually want to hit the C-suite in the next year. Great. How can we support your energy? How can we support your health overall? So you can actually do that. So I guess there's no set answer. You just kind of get a vibe on the call. But also, like if you look at somebody's LinkedIn, you're kind of going to know, like looking at all their previous jobs that are listed on there from like 10, 20, however long that's on there. Where's this person's career went to? Where have they went left or right? Have they started their own thing? Has it worked? Has it not worked? Like you can get an indication based on their experience, their interest on LinkedIn. And then on the call, mate, you're just saying, right, how can I provide value to this people? And whenever I never pitch somebody in terms of trying to sell them on the first call. And potentially if somebody was ripping my arm off looking for a price, I would maybe push it. But like, honestly, the first call is to connect with people. And it's like, how can I provide value? So if anyone listening here ever books a call with me, it's never to try to sell you. It's like, how can I help this person within the call? But then also, like, how can I provide some value overall and just give you something to think of when you walk away from the call? Even if we never get to a call where I pitch you on, I'm going to have learned something about executives or you in general that, it's good for my content. So like, you're just going to look for these little things and how people talk and how they present themselves on LinkedIn as the first key. And then you just dive into the intricacies of what does Mike need, what does Sharon need, what does Bob need, and how are we going to get them there,
That makes sense.
That wasn't a quick answer, so I apologize.
Those are your words, not mine. Second quick hitter. What's one exercise that most people overlook, could do more of, or are not doing in general?
Walking.
Good answer. And in that vein, how about one food that people should eat more
of? Probably not one food, I guess, but one food group would be protein. Most people, they eat on the go, like, you might grab a croissant on your way to work, or some sort of pastry, or you at Starbucks and you're looking at that big fresh food counter and you just grab whatever's handy, right? That's the executive breakfast for 9 out of 10 people. It's like coffee shop on the way up to the office, right? What can I grab here? Is it a blueberry muffin from Starbucks? Is it a toasted sandwich? What is it? Like, and I think there's not much protein in those options. Whereas if people just thought, as a simple rule, a simple habit for the next 7 days, protein at every meal. Doesn't matter the amount, but just think, can I get some eggs in the morning, or a shake with some blueberries or something mixed in, and some spinach and whatever, or greens powder. Easy. You're getting your protein in. Some meat or fish at lunchtime. Same for dinner time. Sorted. Like, if they did that, they would see a lot of improvements, and they actually wouldn't be as hungry at their desk, because the protein will keep them fuller for longer. So I think protein as a food group would probably be the first key component. And then I guess if you're looking at close second, veggies, because most people don't eat enough veggies either.
There you go. Protein, veggies, and walking. So we could all do more of. We've covered a lot of ground tonight. What didn't I ask you that I probably should have?
I don't think there is anything, mate, to be honest. Like, this is your show. I think there is a lot that you could talk to on executive health, which is probably why shameless pitch, like these no pitch executive calls, they're available to anyone. What I'll maybe do is I'll give you the link where people can book into my calendar and they can just have a chat about. And it's honestly just to provide value to people. So if there is a question that people have and they're like, they didn't cover this or that, jump on a call and just book it and we'll just have a chat. And like, my program isn't a fit for most of the people. Like, it's for select people, but I can always provide value on the call. And if somebody is a good fit, I'll always let them know, hey, I would love to explore this on another call. Is that something you're open to? But I never pitch on that call. So just book it, get some value out of my brain if the guys want to continue, and then we can go from there.
I will certainly post that in the show notes. I can also vouch that every conversation we have, I have learned way more than the value I've given. So, Odhran, thank you for that. And where can our listeners find you if they want to get more information?
So they can find me on LinkedIn if they are executives on the LinkedIn platform. Obviously, you can get the spelling of my name from the podcast episode. It is an Irish name, so it's a bit different with silent letters thrown in. But I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and just book a call and they can go directly through that link, and then we can connect, obviously, as in person as you can get these days with Zoom, right?
Yeah, as close to the real thing as possible. Odhran, this was a ton of fun. Thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to next time.
My pleasure, mate. Thank you.